Hi, and welcome to the 2018 Women's Midlife Revolution Summit. My guests and I will show you the many facets of midlife that help you to regenerate physically, heal emotionally, transform and grow spiritually, and evolve to your soul's authenticity. We want to shift your perception of midlife and perimenopause from negative to one of an exciting journey of opportunities. So I'm your host, Desiree Arnold, and our guest is Riana Milne. Riana is a certified global life and dating and relationship coach. Now, her approach to relationship coaching has a worldwide unique focus, as she's also a licensed mental health counselor and a certified trauma and addiction professional for over 18 years. Her coaching to find new love and build a lasting relationship is of utmost value to us midlifers who know the pain of failed or even toxic relationships in the past. The really amazing specialty of Riana Milne is how she helps those who have had past trauma, especially from childhood, but also from past dating and relationship trauma. Now,
Hi, everyone.
Yes, everybody has that. And in midlife, especially, we have tried, and we're so reluctant to go into a next relationship because, but we will speak later about it. We're just afraid to live the same drama with another person.
Well, the thing is, the basic human needs for everyone is love. So you don't, because you had a bad experience the first time or the second or the fourth time, you still don't want to give up on the possibility of having love in your life. But what you do want to do is learn to do it differently.
Exactly.
Learn how to date with empowerment, get the exact skills you need to be more successful at it. Recognize the red flags of someone that is not a good partner to date. I don't care about what the chemistry says. And because very often chemistry is the wrong leader to saying this is a good partner to have. That's
very
usually
explosive chemistry sometimes.
Yes, because chemistry pulls you right back to the toxic dynamic of your past. So we say it's nice to have attraction, but you have to have a whole lot more.
Yes, you have to have a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Just now, I also want to say something else, because you're also an author of #1 best-selling books, and where you address life transitions and personal transformation. And you have these books, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. But you are not only a relationship coach, you're also a life coach. So you have a second #1 best-selling book, which is Live Beyond Your Dreams, From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose and Success. And oh yes, Riana, welcome. I'm so excited to have this interview, and I believe our listeners will get a lot of aha moments.
Yes, I hope so.
During our chat, yes. So tell us more about your work as a life and relationship coach and how you came actually about that special field.
Sure.
Childhood trauma.
Well, before I forget, you mentioned my 2 books, and I want to make sure your listeners know they can get free chapter downloads of both books on my website, riannamilne.com. So just write that down and feel free to go and get those for yourself later.
Yeah.
So I started out at the traditional route of psychotherapist. I have a triple master's in applied clinical and counseling psychology, opened up a private practice, did that 14 years in the Atlantic City, New Jersey area, then moved to Delray Beach to semi-retire because I love the weather in Florida. And, I just felt after Obamacare, it became all about the paperwork and all these demands. You have to do this, you have to do that. And in 18 years, they didn't give us more than a $5 per session raise as a counselor. So we were working a whole lot more and not being rewarded for the amount of efforts that we were putting out there. And you have to have really the combination of doing what you love and enjoying the fruits of your labor, right? I mean, I do a lot of work coaching and career coaching for people as well. So I did go through RCI, Relationship Coaching Institute, 2009 and 10, to be certified as a life coach for singles and for couples, and really specialized and honed in on, the childhood trauma piece after I had a relationship that did not work out with someone I really, truly loved, and couldn't figure out what was wrong within his personality to risk everything that we had, because we really had quite a beautiful love relationship. So much in love, we had actually 3 wedding ceremonies, one in Paris, one in Cancun on the beach at our honeymoon, and one in Atlantic City with our 4 children standing up for us. So that tells you the degree of the intensity of how much love we had. And then he sabotaged everything. So I'm like, where did this come from? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know what's the matter with me. I've been sabotaging love I want for my whole life. And so just part of my healing set me on that mission. And part of the beginning part of my understanding was ACOA. And I covered that term, which is adult child of an alcoholic. And it went through, his dad was alcoholic, but then he was physically abusive and then verbally abusive. And, that opened up some of the traumas that I saw that he experienced. And then I started interviewing more and more people, and the same types of traumas came up. And then finally, later, much later, when I wrote my book, Love, in 2012, right after that incident. But most of my research came out years later, 12 to 14, when I took 2 years and really dove deep. And then I said, oh my gosh, all my clients are experiencing this too. And then 2015, I read a report from Kaiser Permanente Group that actually 90% of humans do suffer some of the 10 childhood traumas, at least one. Now, most of my clients, by the time they reach out for help, that's usually 3 to 6, but I've had people with 8 or 9 and 10 traumas as well. And most people think their childhood was, it's pretty normal, until I break down the 10 traumas and they say, wow, really, I have these. And now this all makes sense. That's the big aha moment. So it was for me, and then it was for my clients, and then I created the program that's 50% life coaching and 50% love coaching to help people not only with childhood trauma, but early dating and relationship trauma as well. So if there was the first love relationship and they said, well, my childhood was fairly normal, but they got involved with a guy that was an alcoholic or abusive, physically, emotionally, that then sets up a trend for the rest of their life as well. So it was equally both childhood and dating love relationship trauma. And that's what I help people through today.
This is really great, because one point you said is we often, well, like me too, I was like about 17 or something when we had to write some essay in school about our childhood, and they were like, what? You moved, like you went through like 7 different primary schools, and you lived at 15 different places. And yes. I thought it is normal. It was only later on I realized I have really struggled with settling,
Yes.
I'm a temporary person. But what I want to say is, like, we assume everybody went through some sort of thing and it's just normal, deal with it. But as you say, often alone or without the eye-opening, we don't realize what the past normal life that we think
Correct.
We had is affecting in our behavior later on.
What I can do for your listeners, I can go through the 10 most popular, they're not popular in a good way, they're popular, most occurring adverse childhood events, which we call ACEs, or the traumas that come up. And then later I can explain the correlation between what's happening with you now as an adult and how it stems back to what happened to you as a child.
Oh, yes, I would love that. And for sure, our listeners too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage them to get pen and paper and make 3 long columns on their paper. The first one, put me, because we're seeing if this happened to you. The second one would be partner. And it could be a current partner or an ex-partner that you remember struggling with. And the third column, you put parents. And if it applies to mom or dad, just list mom or list dad whenever I go through the 10 traits. And it's kind of a puzzle we put together. At the end of all this, I do offer your listeners a free life and love transformation discovery session with me that they would get also on my website, website, riannamilne.com. So I do ask them to bring me this information so I can help them best. So here we go. Here's the list. First of all, keep in mind that when this happened, you were a young and innocent child. You didn't know anything different. All we knew is what mom and dad presented to us, and that's why we just said, well, you know, it could have been a little bit difficult, and we had some bumps in the roads, but it was pretty normal. So if you had any of these 10s, we also look at the severity level of 1 to 10 when you get to meet with me one-on-one. Okay, so here we go. Remember, your young, innocent child. Did mom or dad have any addiction? So the number one word is addiction. So I'll describe 10 of them right off the bat. There are more addictions than this. Most people know of drugs and alcohol. There's also sex addiction. That means a cheating parent that cheats on a regular basis. Porn addiction, very rampant today. Food, spending, hoarding,
Oh my God.
gambling, gaming, and TV watching. So there's 10 addictions straight off that if your parent is addicted to any of these things, that's either behaviors or substances, that they always come first. They come before the well-being and the emotional love of the child. So that's first. Second, verbal abuse. Now this can be obviously yelling, screaming, or you witnessing mom and dad yelling and screaming at each other. Verbal abuse also means if you didn't hear any compliments, heard the words, I love you, being told great job, or I believe in you. You know, these are verbal accolades that kids need to feel great about themselves. It also could be if your parents were angry at you and they got very quiet and shut down on you for hours or days at a time. This is what we call passive aggressive anger. So verbal abuse is that one. Emotional abuse or neglect, and we mostly know what that is. You'd be home hours alone with nobody there. They didn't take care of your basic needs, food, clothing. The house was a mess, you know, just basic neglect. They even said in the study that parents that have to work like a 9-to-5 schedule, if the kid came home from school alone at 3 p.m. and had to be alone for 2 hours, that's actually a form of anxiety for that child. So that's a form of neglect, even though we had to work to support our kids, because I was a single mom, as you were, Desiree, you know, helping to work to help support our children. What else could we do? But in the long run, there was anxiety around that for the kids. The next one is physical abuse, rape, or molestation, always a level 10 trauma. But I just read a report yesterday that I used on my radio show, Lessons in Life and Love. That's every Monday at 6 p.m. And I was talking about abusive relationships, emotional abuse, and so on. But the stats around children is 90% of children that are physically abused are by someone they knew and are supposed to trust. So, you know, years ago when we were in the schools, I was in the schools as a counselor, you know, it's like beware of strangers. Well, these kids are being molested and sexually abused by people they know, and that's really sad. So that's the next one. Okay, after that, number 5, abandonment. There's 2 types, fault and no fault abandonment. So in no fault abandonment, 3 examples is if a parent has to go off to war, or if a parent dies early. It is a still form of abandonment, but it's not their fault. And the next one is if a parent has to travel a lot to support the family and the child feels like, when are they coming home? And that was one of mine. My father was an FBI and CIA agent. We did not know this till many years later, as he was dying with cancer, that we got letters from our president and the director of CIA thanking him for his many years of service. And it's like, oh, that's where Dad was. But I remember asking as a kid many times, when's Daddy coming home? My mom would say in disgust, well, I don't know. And she didn't know. So, you know, for little kids, like, well, where's my dad? You know, is he safe? When's he coming home? So that's a form of no fault abandonment, because that's how he supported us. Okay, a fault abandonment, an example would be if there's a divorce and let's say the father leaves the home, promises to see the child, and then doesn't show up or blows off the weekend, or he goes for the weekend, but dad is with his new girlfriend and not giving the child any attention. That's a form of fault abandonment. Next one, number 6, if you are part of the foster care system, if you were adopted, or you had to go live in another household because mom and dad couldn't take care of you. Even if it was grandparents and aunt or uncle, you still had to get out of the primary house. I have a girl that I coach that she says, well, what if I chose to live at another house because I hated being home? Yes, that counts too. Okay, you just don't want to be there. It was too toxic and you kind of grew up in someone else's home. Number 7 is a very popular one. We call this personal trauma. And this is very most common form is being bullied and not feeling like you fit in. You didn't feel good enough. And most of that often occurs at school. But your parents also could have bullied you, or your siblings. You could have been born also with a medical condition, or felt, overweight or underweight. The skinny, gawky child would have been teased. That was me. And kids that are overweight are often teased and didn't feel like they fit in. So just remembering that would be trauma 7. Trauma number 8 is around siblings. Again, that sibling could have bullied you. The sibling could have been born with a medical issue, which commanded moms and dads attention, more attention towards them than you. Or the most popular under this is they were the golden child, meaning the parents' favorite because you perceive them as being more beautiful, more intelligent, more athletic. So as you're growing up, they were, mom's or dad's favorites in your mind. The next one, number 9, is very common and getting worse and worse. And this is occurring all around the world. It is 2 different categories. It used to only be family trauma, but I have added to it community trauma. So let's go to community trauma. This is the terroristic events happening globally. It is our massive storms, hurricanes, floods, volcanoes, fires that are displacing families like crazy. Of course it's devastating for the adults, but can you imagine little children who don't have the emotional capacity to even process trauma like this? So these events are becoming more and more severe and common. So community trauma cannot be ignored. I was brought out to Las Vegas in September last year to talk during that mass shooting. And, people are really stuck in post-traumatic stress. And I remember talking to the Uber driver, and I asked him, how are you doing since the mass shooting? It was maybe a week later. And he goes, thank you for asking. Because everybody gets into my car and just says, so where's the best party? And what bars are open? He goes, nobody cares. And that's part of it too, the shock of like people not being in touch with the people that experience this emotion, that it's lasting for a very long time. And studies show trauma stays stored in the brain and body for a very long period of time. So that's community. Family trauma, some examples is like you mentioned, Desiree, moving a lot of times as a child. Military families in the U.S. have to move every 2 to 4 years. So you're uprooting that child from friends, from the home they knew. There's a lot of insecurity there, a lot of anxiety. If your parent was incarcerated, if you came from lack and you always remember financial struggle, there's many that fall under this category. Also growing up in a dangerous neighborhood, being afraid to walk to school, thinking you might be beat up that day. Any of these are family traumas. The last one, number 10, is if your parent had a mental health issue. Now, when I was growing up, nobody went to a counselor. I remember asking to go to one in 9th grade, and my mother said, no one in this family will ever go to the counselor. And I said, then I'll grow up and become one. And I did.
Oh, yes.
And I think when a child is asking for help, you never ignore them and say no, never. So that wasn't diagnosed, or there's a big stigma around reaching out and getting help back then. So what you have to look for is the 2 most severe is a borderline personality. That's someone with fast trigger anger. You never know what their mood's going to be. I describe it was when they're good, they're great, or when they're bad, they're horrid. And it's really hard to be around them. They're a very difficult person to love. That's a borderline. They would get mad at the stupidest things that no one else would get mad at. And then bipolar is manic depressive. Now, depression can come out as anger, checking out emotionally, or being very exhausted. Manic, people say, oh, that's the good one, when people are high and happy. Well, it could be, but it also could be very bad and destructive. That could be going on a gambling binge, or a spending binge and spending more money than the mortgage. So, manic is not always good. So those are the 10 traumas in childhood. There are more, but those are the most popular. And like I said, if you do reach out to me for that free session, I'm going to ask you which ones you have. And to go deeper in this, I have a free ebook. And sometimes I forget to mention all this, but the free ebook is at havetheloveyoudeserve.com. And it's like a 12-page report that goes deeper into this. If you're like, oh my God, I have this, what's next? Read the ebook and reach out to me so I can help you with your personal issues.
Oh, yes, I took the free session with you. I must say, it was very rich from what I contributed, and you opened my eyes to so many things. And what was really amazing, just a few days ago, I was like in my old pattern. I felt the wave coming up, and I was like, oh, Rihanna told me this, and it made tuck, and the wave just went like this, and I reacted different. And
yes, I mean, some people come to me saying they've had years of therapy and they didn't learn anything. Even in the bonus hour I give, they're like, I never heard of this. And they've been in years and years of therapy. And that's because us therapists did not learn this in school. And it's very sad. It's very new, cutting edge information, and so many people suffer from it. And instead, our society is take a pill, it'll go away. Well, it doesn't. These are deep-rooted psychological traumas that must be dealt with. And like you said, Desiree, there's definitely things that I teach my clients between 3 and 6 months. It's a 3 and 6 month program where they definitely learn to ease the trauma and learn to think differently. So eventually my clients, and it happens very quick for my clients, within the second to third week, they're feeling different already.
Yes.
And they're empowered, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not anxious. This is going away. And they just love their new life, So we do the life part first to get rid of the trauma response and look at their entire life. And I just did a life wheel today with one of my VIP clients. And, we're looking at friendships and parenting and financial and her career, hobbies, personal fun, and looking at where she is now and taking her to that life she always desired. And then from there, then we get her out in dating. And then that's when I have the chance to teach her all the skills she needs to learn for dating. Because there's definitely a science and skill set to dating and dating well.
I have learned, since I've learned this, I'm like all the time, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. Thank you, Rihanna. And that was the free session you offered. I advise every woman who's watching, please take advantage of it. It's nothing that you have ever heard of before, honestly, because Rihanna is like, I doubt there are a handful of coaches who coach like you do. Actually I wanted to continue, but something else, a lot of women now, when they have the midlife transition, they also go through menopausal hormonal problems. And I know, because I was constantly apologizing to my sons, because I would come home and then something triggered me. And I would be yelling. I wouldn't cuss them bad words, but I just let out all this frustration. Oh, I'm fed up of seeing the place like this, and I am fed up of this, and and just now I'm going to throw all you out, or I'm going to leave. And then the anger goes down, and I'm like, what the heck did I just do? And I realize I have hurt them a lot. So, and that over a period of time, because it wasn't once, it was like, over years, 3-4 times a week, that we even become, we lose our authority or our partnership relationship with our, especially teenage children, or when they are
close. And this is why they say trauma goes through the generations, because the way you learned to cope with when things bothered you was toxic, because you learned it from your mom and dad, which was a toxic relationship.
It was,
So, and it damages the relationship you have with your children. And like I said, my client this morning, I have repatched that new relationship. And it was only after the second session, she told me, she goes, Rihanna, my daughter's already said, Mom, you're changing.
Amazing, really, yes.
And they're getting along so much better. And my client is so happy about that. But just speaking, I want to address the menopausal years a little bit. Perimenopause could be happening 8 to 10 years before the actual cycle stops. which we call perimenopause. And what is actually happening is when testosterones drop in your body, this brings on depression and sadness. When your estrogens drop, this brings on migraines, more like lack of sleep, and the sweats. You know, neither one is pleasant. Low testosterone is also lack of joy around sex, or not feeling that you want to be sexually intimate. So it's very important that you look into what I call NHR, natural hormone replacement. And in our country, in the US, there are certain gynecologists that definitely specialize in NHR. And for men, that's the urologist that will take the T levels. And it's a simple blood test. The old traditional people that don't know about it, they'll do one blood test and say, no, you're not menopausal yet. That's not what you want. That is not the answer. We test the ones that know how. They test testosterone, the 3 estrogens, and progesterone. And they then refer by prescription you to a compound pharmacist. And it is made by plant extract. This is, stay away from the pills called Premarin. That's from pregnant mare urine, horses.
Yes,
You don't want to take it. The side effects are really bad. This is from plants, bioidentical plants. So you really have to know what you're looking for. And it's all according to what you need from these 5 things that they are measuring in your blood. So it takes a very skilled gynecologist who is certified in NHR to do these type of tests for you. And it takes you back to feeling about 35. And it's great for your skin, your hair. It's anti-aging. I tell everyone my age. I'm 60. Most people don't think I'm 60.
yeah.
But I've been on NHR myself since it worked for me. Many years later. Now I do eat healthy and I do take vitamins as well, get great sleep. But this is a part of my program for good health. So I would highly recommend your ladies look into it if they're suffering from that. And what is saddest is when I see women in their 40s getting some signs of depression, and then boom, they're put on Prozac or Lexapro for depression, when it's really just their hormones dropping. And you can do something all natural about it. So don't go on the pills. None of my clients are on psychotropics. They're all off of them within a couple of weeks of working with me. Total off.
Oh yes, we have actually an expert. Her name is Dr. Rose Kumar, and she is a natural hormone balancing expert. And it has an interview with her on this show too. And she will explain you too how the hormones are made and the cycle and what to expect. And as you said, it's really fantastic, because I stepped away. I said, I don't want no horse urine hormones, because of all the side effects.
Yeah.
I said, I better go through this like this. My grandmothers have both turned 90 plus years old, and they haven't gotten that, and I will do the same. But now learning about this, that there is hormone replacement, but there is also natural hormone balancing, where they test the blood, what is actually missing and what should be done. And you could do that after you adjust your diet and so on, that you have an optimal base foundation where to start to balance. And Dr. Rose Kumar, she actually said that it works very fast, within 48 hours.
Yeah, it works great.
Yes.
It works great. And then there's the men go through andropause. So if you think something's wrong with your man in your life, there probably is. His testosterones drop. But that happens later for him. That happens around age 49 to 56. There's more weight gain around the middle. They're moody. They're very tired. They may not be as sexual as you're used to them being. So this is called andropause. And they didn't teach us this in healthcare class growing up, that men go through something too. But you should know about it and encourage your man to get his blood test at the urologist. They can figure out those levels.
Exactly. So you see, there is like so much help out there. And actually you will hear from several specialists during this show, and recommendations from other women who went through it and are doing fantastic. Actually, with Rihanna, I thought when I saw her picture, I thought she would not fit our profile because I thought she hasn't turned 40 yet. And
Age
she
is a state of mind and,
young.
and energy, Desiree. You know, it's all holistic
Yes,
living.
it's like
Yeah.
really fantastic. I think I look younger too since I spoke to you because my energy has just risen. I was like, I really,
Yay. Good.
yeah, I
And you
feel
read my
so
books too,
relaxed.
right? So
Yeah,
that's a difference.
some
Yeah.
chapters I didn't get through all, but
Okay.
let's come back to the relationship because, as you said, you was
Yeah, I want
married.
to hit on some really important things here for
This
sure.
fantastic relationship you had, and then it went toxic. So how come we can be in a seemingly perfect relationship and you're like, hey, this is the one, and you want to commit to it, and then everything goes haywire and there
Yeah.
are the breaks up? How does that happen?
Okay. Well, the research shows that these relationships start out very, very romantic, high attention, lots of phone calls, text messages. But as soon as it gets more serious, which is about 4 months to 9 months in, or you live together, you're engaged or married, then things start falling apart. So one of the warning signs is don't marry fast. Don't marry fast because they're trying to hold things together um, emotionally to win you and then get you as a partner. Okay. Because most people know deep down something is wrong. So some of the ways this plays out, some signs you're seeing that will come out in that time period of 4 to 9 months are these. If somebody lies for no reason, for example, and you're figuring like, why do you have to lie about that? That's common knowledge. They lie or use manipulation because they're afraid to either tell you the truth because they'll be punished. That's what happened to them when they were kids. So they learn to lie to escape severe beating or being screamed at. They're like, oh my gosh, if I go home with an F on my test, I'm gonna get beat tonight. So I'll change it to an A. Maybe I can get away with it. It's a 50-50 chance they get away with it. And if they find that lying works, then lying becomes more and more prevalent as a child and it just becomes a way of life as an adult. So that's where lying comes from. And they're also afraid you might leave them if you know the truth. So that's 2 reasons why people lie. Control is used when a partner doesn't feel good enough. So they might have gone through the bullying. They didn't feel like they measured up. And these are some people that are very successful in business. A lot of my clients are successful in business, but struggle in love. That is my ideal client. And they're like, well, I reached success in my career. Why can't I get love? I don't get it. And the reason is even being successful in school became a coping strategy. So let's say you had a very rough father. Well, if you came home at least with A's, he would be kind and happy with you for a while. So getting good grades and performing well at school, or being the star athlete, that kept everybody happy for a period of time. And you could kind of escape the wrath of that angry parent. Or school was a place where you felt love. The teachers loved you. You were the teacher's pet. At least you felt happy there, and that made you want to succeed for them. So you became successful at school, which then equated to being success in career. But you still never dealt with what was the real issues going on when it came to love. So chemistry will pull you back to the past. So if you have that angry, toxic, alcoholic father, that's the kind of guy you're going to fall in love with because that's what your psyche knows is normal, even though it's not normal.
Oh, yeah.
It's not what a normal relationship looks like. Yeah. One that happens a lot for women I want to mention is people pleasing. So this could have been the little girl growing up with the angry alcoholic mom to keep the peace and her not yelling at her. She would help with the siblings, make their lunches, make the dinners, help clean the clothes, help clean the house, really overdoing and people pleasing their mom to stay on the good side of mom. And then this woman, as an adult woman, will be in a marriage with kids and say, nobody loves me as much as I love them. I do all this for them. Nobody does anything nice for me. And they are angry and they are resentful, but their boundaries are way stretched out, or there's a lot of guilt around doing for themselves. They don't say yes to themselves too often. And they're doing for everyone else, and they are always last. Emotionally, psychologically. So, this is the first step of even working with me. They know it's like, oh, I want to work with you on there. Then get to the point of saying yes. and not feel bad about it or guilty.
But I have this kind of too, that
Yeah, the
you do
cultures affect
everything
women.
for somebody else. Like
Yes.
it is strong to move the Himalaya. I used to say, oh, somebody else comes. I say, oh, no problem. I can move the Himalaya for you. How many inches? I will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay. I will do it too. And when I see I had to do something for me, actually the guilt weighed so heavy on me.
Yeah. There's a
Sometimes,
lot of guilt. There's high anxiety in people with trauma. Hard to say no, really loose boundaries, doing for everyone else and not having enough time for themselves. So we work on all those dynamics.
yes, and I
Yeah.
see that a lot amongst other practitioners like me, you know, that we help other people, and they would call us outside of the office hour. They will see us in the street, and we don't say, oh, you know, I have to go somewhere, but remember, call and make an appointment, or come Monday to
Right.
the office, or something like this. We kind of feel like we have to be ever ready. I see this with a lot of practitioners, and they tell me I feel so exhausted. I love
Well,
what
they're
I
also
do,
working a
but
lot of hours. Again, getting back to I have to work to feel good about myself and my life. And there's
all
a lot of
this is,
control at work, but if they go home and control their partner, then their relationships fall apart.
and that all starts in childhood.
Hmm. Yeah, for
All
sure.
those patterns all start with what we have learned from.
Yes.
These are for sure. I know you have success really fast, but how do you change patterns that have worked for 30 years, you know, or even longer? I mean,
Yeah.
you have changed something for me within an hour, which was like really carved deep in it. There was a huge dagger which was pulled out my heart when I realized, hey, I'm not doing it anymore, you know?
Good.
And I really, I mean, I know you have succeeded with this one thing with me. You have really put a lot of work in your research
Yeah.
to I love you for that.
Oh,
Really
thank you.
fantastic.
I
Yeah.
love what I do, helping people transform their lives. It's amazing to see where they're starting and where they end up. And if you want to read any of these stories, I have like 70 testimonials on my website, you know, and the stories are just, they always bring goosebumps. I remember every one of my clients, even my Jersey clients, say at any time I can reach out to her and she knows exactly who I am and what my problems were from 10 years ago. How's this
Yeah.
going on? Did you solve that? You know, so I get very, very close with my clients because they do open their hearts and trust me to help them. And, you know, the VIPs are one-on-one, and then I have a group called Dating to Mating. But I also, you know, I want to tell your listeners, like every Monday night I have that radio show. It's global on boldbravemedia.com. It's called Lessons in Life and Love. So I always give out information on that show at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. And, you know, I'm always looking for creative ways to help people, you know, so I always have a master class. I, you know, have these reports and, you know, free book chapters. So just get on my website, find out what interests you. I have a free app, you know, that downloads and is global, so you can get information on the go. It's really my mission to help the way, you know, change the way the world loves. And
Yeah.
it all begins with understanding what we're doing. And it's all so unconscious. And I describe to my clients, it's like a rainbow. Okay. Like here at the beginning part where we don't know what we don't know. And you can't change what you don't know or understand. So with the learning curve, as you start learning this information, you do better, but you'll slip. You'll do better, but you'll slip. And people say, well, why do I have to slip? Well, the slippage comes because the unconscious is so strong that it takes time. It takes 3 to 6 months to really change everything. For me to teach you everything that I've written, the notebook is 150 pages of interactive exercises, but each exercise teaches you something new. So as your skill set gets stronger and you're practicing this day in and day out for 3 days to 6 months, by 6 months, you're at the pot of gold. You're on the other side of the curve. You feel amazing. You know exactly what to do. And these skills you use for the rest of your life. They don't go away. So that the fabulous part, you know? So I always say get in and learn early. The earlier you are, the better. And I even help college kids, you know, they're kids that came out of college and they're feeling lost, or they're afraid to go to college, or having high anxiety or separation anxiety, social anxiety, because I work by computer. And kids love
Yeah.
working by computer. So I do work globally. I have clients all over the globe with different types of trauma, and it's a puzzle. So depending what you went through, again, I'm a CCTP, which is Certified Clinical Trauma Professional. That mixed with the life and love coaching certification, mixed with licensed mental health counselor. I wear 3 hats, and, you know, I'm with you every step of the way. That, you know, we look at what's really deep and going on for you first and handle that immediately, and then start giving you the new skill set that we were never taught in any schools.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically what you said before about the relationship and the liar and the ever-pleasing, it actually turns sour because we start to have the supposedly safety net, but it reminds us so much of home or our childhood that subconsciously we do.
Well, the behavior patterns happen when you're triggered. You know, you're angry about something. So that romance stage of 3 months tends to get into normal day-to-day living. And then you see your partner, how they handle like a aggressive driver or a server at a restaurant. You know, you start to see bits of personalities coming out that you're not liking. And why are they angry, or why are they lying, or why are they jealous over this? Like, jealousy comes from trauma number 7, not feeling good enough, and also verbal abuse, or being humiliated by your parents, or never told, you know, I believe in you, or that you're amazing. You know, so there's a combination, I just call it the puzzle of each person, that we have to get to the bottom of. And then we know exactly what we're watching for as your life continues. And then you know what to change as something comes up. So that's my job early on, to get to the base of what's really happening because of your past. And then step by step together, we change it for you.
Okay, but you know, so when we are already committed 3 to 4 months into a relationship, at least we women, we tend not to say, I'm gonna leave this, because we are worried being seen as a slut or something, you know, but you have a trick.
Well, that's
You
childhood
have the first
conditioning.
dating.
You think that way about yourself. Remember that, Desiree. It's
Yeah,
another lesson for
yes.
you.
We should be.
Yeah, we empower you. It's like, if this person's not right for you, we release them with love, saying, you know, you're an amazing person for many reasons. But honestly, I'm somebody that just will not tolerate any verbal yelling or screaming in my life. I think it's best we part, and I wish you a lot of love and luck. And you move on with composure, compassion, and full empowerment.
Yes.
So feeling like you're a slut, that's childhood conditioning, my friends.
Yes, that is part
Come
of
on, Desiree.
because we're supposed to be worth it to say, hey, I recognize this is going the wrong way, and before I waste any more time into this,
that's right.
I am leaving. But you have dating strategies where actually you could kind of do a first sifting out of recognizing somebody who might have too much difficulties already, than to try to start to build a relationship.
There's exact questions I teach on date 1 and 2. Like date 1, if it goes well, then maybe, you know, if you're feeling really positive, go into date 2. But I have a series of 24 questions that my people ask, and they are gathering the information. Now, because 90% of people have childhood trauma, it's like we're not saying right away, forget you. But we are examining also what have they done to improve their life. So let's say one of the first questions is, so tell me about your mom and dad, right? And these are very conversational. That's not like you're an interview or anything. So if this guy says, oh my God, my mom was an alcoholic my whole life growing up. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years. She's in a home, and it's like, good for her, let her be there. So this is a man that still has anger around his mother, which we call as a mother hater. Okay. Now, which is one of the personality types I talk about that could break your heart, because he has no respect for women. If he doesn't love his mom, he's not going to have respect for you. So, but they still crave love. So they're going to come on really fast and affectionate. And then the littlest thing you do that's not perfect, you're going to hear about it. You're going to be blamed constantly. So someone that might have grown up under that and healed that would say this instead. They said, yeah, you know, when I was young, my mom was an alcoholic and things were really hard. But I was really proud of her. She got herself sober. So by the time I was 12 and 13, things settled down. She really worked hard to rebuild that bond. And we're really good now. Like, I'm really close to my mom right now.
Yes.
So you see the difference of the answers?
Exactly.
Okay, what did they do to improve the situation they were born with? We can't help what we were given. So we're not being judgmental, but we are inquiring as to what have they done to be evolved. And evolved means being their highest and best self. And ideally, to find someone evolved, they are spiritual, not necessarily religious. Spiritual is a way of being every day. It's not about working into a church or a temple for 1 hour a week and saying, I'm spiritual because I went to church. No,
Yes.
it's about everyday practice of living your life with integrity and doing the right things when nobody's looking. You know, that's integrity. So, and making choices that are very conscious that are good for all and not hurting anyone in the process, you see. So living a spiritual way of life is important, and that's usually people that have very successfully overcome their past pain.
Oh yeah, this is really cool because we kind of avoid the conversations consciously, you know, the questions which answers we might not like to hear.
Well, my people know they better be asking them.
And
And
I
it's
know with you
self-protected,
as a
you know.
coach, we are there like, you know, Rihanna is telling me how to ask, what to listen for.
Yeah, it's the exact skills you need to know to date and then attract an emotionally healthy, evolved, and conscious person. And there is a science to dating. You know, we were never told that. And especially in the US, we grew up with the fairy tales of Sleeping Beauty and the love romance and novels and movies. And it's not right. You just don't fall in love because of chemistry. That's all we were taught. Oh, if you have that butterflies, he's the one. Wrong. There's so much more. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, that's like 5%. You know, everything else is what's going to create the good relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So let me see. We had, I think, like everything, the relationship, which is beginning really nice, and then falls apart. Also the destructive patterns that we women develop ourselves or our partner. Then, of course, what happens if we don't heal our patterns, our trauma?
If you don't heal, the pattern keeps going on. We call it a different person or same person, different face. So you keep having these cycle of bad and toxic relationships over and over again. And then it keeps going through the generations as well. So if your grandparents came from trauma, your mom or dad came from trauma, you came from trauma, guess what? Now your kids are experiencing trauma too. So somebody's got to stop the roller coaster of this. And this is what the education is about. Because, you know, I've worked with kids at every grade level of the schools, seeing them from traumatic homes, from kindergarten all the way through college. And that's what started my work in trauma back in 2004. Nobody even talked about that. And I knew kids were being misdiagnosed as ADHD because they came in so stressed out from a toxic home and couldn't sit and learn. And they're getting labeled and mislabeled. Then I'd have them meditate in my classroom because that's one of the strategies to help lessen anxiety. But if you don't heal it, you know, again, the mistakes keep getting made. And my oldest client that came to me is 78, and his name is Bob, and he's in a very happy relationship. You'll see him all over my Facebook page, Coach Riana Milne. And he has a beautiful lady who's 73, and he says, I am at the happiest stage of my life. It took me this long. I said, don't complain about it. Let's just celebrate it, you know. So he sent me a picture of he and his lady on a cruise dancing, you know, and it's like, it's a beautiful thing to see, but that's why I say, don't wait. Like, take care of yourself, get this done. Invest 3 to 6 months, the best 3 to 6 months you will ever do for yourself and your family and your children.
Exactly. It's never too late and it's never too early neither.
That's right. That's for sure.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. But then how does really a healthy, emotionally healthy relationship with
Oh,
emotional
let
healed
me tell you,
partner
that's a
look
whole
like?
nother, at least an hour. That's at least an hour. But
Ah.
I will tell your listeners, I am doing show 4 in Lessons in Life and Love, my radio show coming up this Monday, but this will run after that. But go into show 4 in Lessons in Life and Love on boldbravemedia.com. And that's all going to start. What does the emotionally healthy, evolved, and conscious relationship look like? Or just sign up for one of my lists and you'll see the master classes. I always go into that on my classes, what you're looking for that's good and what you're looking for that's bad to stay away from. So,
Okay.
just get into the master classes.
Well, fair enough, because I believe most of us, I believe 105% of us need to first work on ourselves before we even reach that stage now. So we have a couple of months time of training with you. I'm looking forward to mine when I'm ready. Right now I'm really, really busy, so I put the excuse to the front.
That's
I'm
no
really
excuses, Desiree. You schedule in 1 hour a week. That's all it takes for your lesson.
Oh, yes.
And you're going to love reading the books and doing the workbooks because you're learning and you're going to be so excited about what you learn that it is not a chore or a burden or something you have to, I got to schedule this in. No, it's like, oh my God, when do I get to see you next?
Yes.
Because you're so excited about the change and the transformation. Yeah. So trust me, girl, it's not a burden. It is a blessing.
It's a blessing. Yeah, actually it is, because I feel like I have grown wings after our first session, and I am like, I want to get into your program. I really do, sincerely.
Good.
It's not because of the program I'm doing here now, and I would really advise it to every woman who, because it's not only the past relationship. Sometimes we have been in a long-term relationship with a partner that worked, but we see in so many relationships that fail, and now we are older and maybe the partner has died, or there was a divorce, or we had so many toxic relationships. It's kind of difficult sometimes to find that self-confidence to even try.
Yeah,
And
that's
then when
what we do. We rebuild the self-confidence to get you back out there and find love again.
And this, because I thought, I don't think I'm not ready to go out there in the dating market again until I'm 60. But actually right now I'm really reconsidering that, because
why wait? You do need the education to feel good about that.
Exactly. Let me learn how to do it the right way now. So, okay, well, our hour is almost up. I know you repeated it several times, but one more time so everybody knows it. Your books, what's their name?
Yeah, I'll go through all of that.
Them and everything,
Sure.
please.
Okay, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve is 464 pages packed with great tips about love. Live Beyond Your Dreams, From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success. That's about all the mindset for success. So you have the mindset and the life coaching, then you have the love coaching. However, only the course has my 150-page workbook and me to guide you in your personal journey. So to start that, I give you 1 hour free. It's a $500 value. Just sign up at my website, rianamilne.com. It's RIANAMILNE.com. There's a pop-up window. Fill it out. Tell me your story. I'm the only one that sees your email. We meet for an hour, and I, like Desiree did with me, and in 1 hour, I'm going to start putting that puzzle together for you, why you're struggling in either life, love, or both. And again, the free report, HaveTheLoveYouDeserve.com is a free ebook. And then Lessons in Life and Love is my free radio show now, Desiree. So that started 3 weeks ago. I'm coming up to week 4. So by the time the ladies hear this, it's going to be out there for quite a while, but you can get every show. I would suggest you start at show 1 and just keep going upward, because all this information keeps building one on top of another week. So I'm out there, like I said, on a mission to change the way the world loves, so that you can have the life you desire and the love you deserve.
Oh yes, I really love your motto too. You know, together we can help to change the way the world loves. Yes,
Yeah.
together.
And it's so cool to see, once my people learn this, my clients learn this, they do help their kids, their friends, their neighbors. They start giving insight like, I know what you're struggling with. You know, and people haven't had these answers ever, because childhood trauma is so new out in the research field. So it's great to see it. And like we had said, the Kaiser Permanente group too, you know, they're finding that correlation of childhood trauma and then having illness in your 40s, 50s, 60s, heart attacks, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue. It's all related to childhood trauma that has not been healed.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I remember when I was training to be a practitioner, when I was in Munich, we had this a lot, like diabetes, which had a lot to do with childhood trauma, many other things. And of course, well, I was very young, but I remember the elder ones, they were like, what rubbish is this? Because the average age was like what I am now, you know, in the second half, like almost 50. And I was 22, 23. So I haven't really had that consciousness yet. I didn't even register yet any that my childhood might have been unusual or so on. But back then it was new, and to some people it was, they saw the connection clearly, and then others were like in complete denial.
Mm-hmm.
And then came to it later. But so childhood trauma, resolving it does not only help in your love relationship and life success, it really contributes to your physical health.
And then also your health as well.
Yeah.
So you have health, career, partner, and your children. Your key 4 areas of life. It's impacting.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, so let me see if there was anything else. Yeah. Oh, Rihanna, this was really wonderful, because all of us have, as we discussed earlier, has lived through some sort of trauma, whether consciously or not, but we are all affected with how we lived and learned, whether in a positive way or in a negative way, to move on. It has been a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
To all the viewers, you can go on the radio show, and you can watch the past episodes. And this video now is pre-recorded, but when you go on the website, go on the previous episodes, start with episode 1. Rihanna is building up on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna do it. I haven't figured out though yet how to watch a previous episode, because I went
Go on my Facebook page, Coach Riana Milne, and I will be posting all the shows for the week on that link. Coach Riana Milne. And if you just click like, you'll get all those announcements as they come out.
All right. Very good. Okay, well, thank you again.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting your listeners.
Oh, yes. Me too. And well, thanks, Rihanna, and thanks to all the listeners who have joined us today. And if you want to listen again to this show, you can do it for the next 24 hours. Or you can, if you don't have time to watch all the interviews and want to own a package, you can buy the empowerment package at the reduced price, at the vastly reduced price, by clicking on the link below or also in your email. And go on Rihanna's website for your free gifts and to see if you want to buy one of her books. I definitely recommend it, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.